Joy is the biggest code of my book. And when we are committed to joy, anytime I've ever doubled down on that code, personally, it is when things become the most effortless. It is when things manifest at a rapid speed. It is when serendipity starts to unfold.
Welcome to the School of Becoming podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Litt. Oh, my beauties, do I have someone for you today? She has been described as the voice of her time by Marianne Williamson, a personal branding expert by Forbes, a serial entrepreneur who has founded 3 incredibly successful businesses, one of them being recently sold. She has 2 best-selling books, and I want to highlight the one that I'm holding up right now for you as I introduce her, The Light Work, Reclaim Your Feminine Power, Live Your Cosmic Truth, and Illuminate the World. It hit shelves in August of this year and has already been named a USA Today bestseller. She is the top-ranked podcast host of The Spiritual Hustler. We work together. We love together. She is my friend. Welcome to the stage, Jessica Zweig. Hello. Hello.
It's so wonderful to be here with you, Tracy. We just glitched the internet that was so much magical energy. Thank you for that welcome, warm introduction. I'm obsessed with you. I'm so excited to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I feel the same. It's so fun to just have mad, crazy love, you know?
It's an obsession. It's like the juiciest, best feeling.
I know. Okay, so we're going to dive in so we can squeeze every bit of this out of our moment together. So I actually want to go way back in time for a minute because right here at the School of Becoming, everything is about who we've been, a zero indication of who we're capable of becoming. And I love to know, who were we really all the way back then? So what were you like when you were a little girl, 5, 6, 7 years old?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. I've never been asked this question on a podcast before. It's brilliant. I was really, really imaginative. I loved to play pretend. I was really quite introverted. I remember my mom having a conversation with my kindergarten teacher that Jessica doesn't play on the playground with all the other kids. She likes to go off by herself on the corners of the, tennis court and be by herself under a tree. I was very much, my mom would say I'd have little friends come over. This is around 5, 6, 7. And I'd be downstairs in the basement playing with them. And then my mom would be in the kitchen and my friend would come up to the kitchen and be like, Miss Zweig, Jessica doesn't want to play with me. I was really in my own world, very much I don't know. I mean, I'm a Cancer moon, I guess that tracks, but I love to get lost in my own worlds. I was, I ended up going into school for theater and acting, and I loved to just, I think, play pretend and lose myself in my imagination from a very, very young age. I think a part of me was not only introverted, but shy. I mean, I grew up in a very affluent community, and I remember being 5 years old and knowing in kindergarten who was going to be the popular girls in my community, and I was not going to be one of them. And so I think I was always kind of destined to follow my own path, create worlds, kind of do things my way.
Okay, so I have to ask the next question, but first I just have to acknowledge this is such a synchronicity for us in our relationship because I too, and our beautiful community has heard me tell the story 1,000 times. I used to play pretend in the basement of my house in New Jersey, and I played teacher because, that was my dream, which is what I do, obviously.
You do.
And friends would come over and they'd be like, hey, can you play today? And I'd be like, I cannot play with you. I'm in class. No, I'm not available. I can't believe we've never known this.
That's wild.
Because you never met anyone else that also did that.
That's crazy. As I was telling that story, I was trying to interpret your facial expression because I was like, does she think I'm insane? Or what's going on over there? And now I know why. Because you're we're the same person.
Yeah. 100%. No, it doesn't matter that you're real and available. I am down here doing some magical things with my stuffed animals and my chalk and So.
Same girl. That's so crazy. Same girl, same.
I love it.
Amazing.
Amazing. So what would that little girl say to you about who you have become thus far?
I get emotional. I think she would say, wow. I think she'd say, like, I didn't know that I could ever grow up and be like that. Didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that was available to me. Um, you know that um, there was Barbie and there was Jem. Do you remember Jem?
Gem is outrageous. Truly, truly, truly outrageous. Yes.
I I she was my favorite. And I feel like my little girl would be like, you grew up and you became Jem.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I feel like we need to go to eBay and find a gem doll.
100.
Right.
I need a Jem.
Okay. So I'm
For real.
telling you this just direct like advisement right now. I need you to get a gem doll. I need you to keep her right there out on your desk because there's so much energy and beauty in what is happening right now. And you deserve to look at that and be like, yes, yes. So good. So good. Okay. So you become who the world now gets to know you as, right? You have started companies, sold company. Went to Egypt and had this. Just I'm going to let you talk about it because I can't begin to explain it. You have now launched an entirely new company. Your impact is undeniable. So, what came first? The decision to sell Simply Be, or the life-altering experience in Egypt? And can you kind of like explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally great question. And I also want to say for those listening, like the fact that I maybe identify as Jem, I will say I do identify as Jem. My little girl identifies me as Jem. It's been a long road to get here. And I think the peak of the depths of the ditch of that road really was around the time I went to Egypt. And, to answer the question directly, I had a vision from the very beginning of the Simply Be chapter. I ran this agency for 7 years to build it, to sell it. Like year 1, 2, 3, I knew I was onto something. And at the end of the day, I knew I didn't want to run an agency forever. I kind of wanted that founder story. Who doesn't like sell and exit a business? I was making strategic decisions years 3, 4, 5, and 6 to position the business for an asset sale. And at the same time, like the business really had skyrocketed. It was a really fast-paced scale up business. And in the middle of that 7-year journey, I'd written my first book, Be. And that book doubled my business in less than 11 months. I had twice the amount of staff, twice the amount of revenue, winning awards, traveling the country to speak, had the podcast, was wearing all the hats, working 100-hour work weeks for like a year at the peak of that mountain climb. And while the world, I say this often from the outside in, thought I was crushing it and kind of was like on paper in the patriarchy sense, inside, I felt like I wanted to die. Like I was so burnt out. I was so exhausted and was diagnosed with situational depression from the depletion of the burnout, where I like couldn't leave my house for months at a time because I had no energy. It was really dark. And, the business was this thing I loved, but it also was this thing that I kind of hated too. And about 6 months after the diagnosis of depression, I had planned this trip to Egypt, very fortuitously. Like I planned that trip a year before, as you would with any international big trip. And I had no idea when I planned it how I was really going to feel when I got on the airplane to Cairo that November morning. And so I was on track, like in my 3D CEO boss brain, like building a business to sell it. But I had come to a point emotionally and mentally and spiritually where I was kind of done. But I was still hooked in, Trace, to the ego, to the identity, to the boss babe, yellow blazer, successful Jessica's Zweig chick that the world saw on Instagram. And then that girl died in Egypt. Like she actually died. I like shed her like a Kundalini snake skin. and came home from that trip. And that's when everything really unfolded and my life took a 180 and I did sell the business. So it was many things kind of at once.
Yeah. There's so much in here. And I am feeling the emotion of that experience in me right now for you. I'm sitting here wondering, how can you and I continue this conversation in a way that is a permission slip for all of these women that are listening, which are both my women, your women, there are women, and we're so lucky to be trusted.
Totally.
To create permission to honor where your joy goes, which I know you talk about in the book, and not need to wait for that catalyzed moment where you're dying, where you're exhausted, where you're literally not burnt out in the flippant way we say, oh, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, but like adrenal, cortisol issues, like what you were experiencing, right? I'm sitting here, I'm like, can we go there? Because there's so much vanity, there's so much bullshit in our industry. Like you were saying on the outside, like you're jamming, right? And even me, at that far, we didn't have that relationship then. I had a perception of you. I knew upright, we had like awareness, but right? I would have never, for any reason, imagined anything other than slay queen, get her girl, yay, like slap you high five in the virtual hallway and move on. What do we need to know? How do we help ourselves go, fucks, the way we have success is wrong?
Totally. So good. I mean, I think the very, very, very first step is to really recognize, like see as objectively as possible that we have been conditioned and programmed by a system that was not designed for us as women to truly thrive within. That I'm not mad at anybody about it. It's just the way this world has been constructed over the last, I don't know, couple thousands of years, called the patriarchy. And we have overvalued the masculine, not men, but masculine energy. The values and, priorities of success and building and creation and going and winning and competing and hustling and working at a pace and at a vibration that is actually completely opposite of how we as women are designed. And just to see that that's actual like history is playing itself out and we're all suffering, because there's not a woman I have talked to in the last 2 years that has not experienced burnout or is continually in burnout, is in it right now after being in it 4 other times. Like it's an epidemic. And we're like fish in water. We like don't even see it. The way that this world has been constructed to reward us for operating like that.
Yes.
And so that's step one, I would say, is just like having the awareness which takes down all the judgment, right? Like, and the second step, I mean, not to break this down into steps, but just to really like open up the aperture of at least how it really came to light for me. I was so out of my body, Tracy. Like my nervous system was fried. I was like pounding through 6 meetings in an airplane on my period, like not eating when I was hungry, not sleeping consistently, not regulating my circadian rhythm by going outside, like the simple things that just got my body so bent out of shape because I was not in my body. And one of the biggest hacks, I swear by it, is like tracking your cycle. Like I remember when I was in the depths of like my burnout year. I mean, I'd built this massive business. I was carrying this huge payroll. There was so much stress. And my P&L for like years had looked like this, right? And then it went like this. It went straight and then it went down a little, like as businesses do. And I was in a therapy session freaking out about it. And she was actually a spiritual astrologer, mystical psychologist. She was like, Jessica, the fact that you think your business needs to look like this in straight lines is the programming. And if all things are nature, which is true, that includes your business. It goes through cycles, rhythms, spring, summer, autumn, fall. And that was like a totally radical new concept, but also the biggest permission slip. And if we're female entrepreneurs that are running these businesses, to do our best to get into in attunement with our own personal cycles and rhythms, to then align how we do business. This is not what we're taught. Like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Q1, 2, 3, 4, H1, H2, all linear lines. And so to really calibrate into the feminine parts of ourselves, starting with our own sacred technology of our womb and our yoni, like this is our magic, and we are pummeling over it with caffeine and Zoom calls and quotas. And while all of those things do to some degree support our growth, like that's not the whole game. And so I just, that's why the book is called like Light Work, Reclaim Your Feminine Power. Like it's about coming home to the feminine codes that we possess that have been washed out.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is so beautiful. So, gorgeous listener, I know you got everything you needed to get, and I want to just like pull a couple things. I want you to pay attention to almost like a loving self audit. Are you stepping in nature? Are you paying attention to your body? Are you sensing that you're even in your body? Maybe you're like, fuck, what does that even mean? Like, am I in my body? Am I not? Whatever it is great, because judgment doesn't exist in higher levels of consciousness. We don't play there. But I want you to be able to really hear beyond the beautifulness of this dialogue, how you can take this and extract certain parts of it so that you can do a little systems check of your own. Because then because the other thing in that beautiful, you're a spiritual, astrological, psychologist, gorgeous person that was, I'm really appreciative for what she said, because it is so on point that things are cyclical, things are seasonal. The whole world wants us to believe that sex is fabulous, but that sex, we should all be having way more sex. Enough orgasms. That's just a fact. We'll talk about that later. That success is supposed to look like the takeoff pattern of an airplane. That is the old paradigm of success, right? When in actual fact, that heart rate monitor, like the EKG, up and down, a little down, a little up, a little down, that is so beautiful. So permission for that. I wanted to hear that in that moment. I needed to hear this right now today. It's just so beautiful. So you went exactly where I wanted to go next, which is codes. So you put so many beautiful things about codes in your book. I'm not all the way through.
Wow.
So explain how you see and teach codes, and then how can a woman start to understand those unique, delicious codes that are hers?
So I love the question about codes, because I, to be honest with you, I had not really used that word until I went to Egypt. And as I was publicly going to Egypt, and people saw it like before I left for that trip, and people who'd been to Egypt, they're like, oh my God, you're going to go and you're going to get the codes. You're going to get all the codes in Egypt. Get ready for the codes. I'm like, what the fuck are the codes? like I really didn't have a true embodied understanding of what that word meant until I went. And now it's like my favorite word. And it's the thing I say it every single day. And I am working on it every single day. So, the way that and you're quantum too, Trace. So like, I know you're going to really get this. Like we have, our DNA threads, and I'm not a scientist. I'm going to just give you that disclaimer, but from my own research and what I assess and has made sense to me, we have these genes, these multidimensional, like they're literally encoded our DNA with information, right? And much of that information, because of the density in our planet, the psyche of fear, our what we're putting into our food and our toxic environments, like our DNA has become dormant. Like there's a suppression of our natural light, because information is the synonym for light. And our literal cells are made up of light, electricity. Our bodies are supercomputers. They're quantum machines. They're not just flesh, blood, and bone. And so we can activate this information, AKA our codes, our unique codes, because everyone is encoded differently. We're all there. That is also science. There's only one you, according to DNA. And we can activate our codes through a series of experiences and practices. You can activate your codes through breath work. You can activate your codes through a deep, conscious, illuminating conversation. You can activate your codes in a spiritual building when you walk into a church or a synagogue or a mosque or some sort of holy building and feel a shift energetically in your body. That was what happened to me in temple after temple within Egypt. We can activate our codes through ceremony, moon circles and chanting and, somatic practices and illumination of like consciousness in books we read. Like things come online, as I often say, because we're like booting up the computer again. To recognize that we have carbon-based DNA, and then this is my extraterrestrial like woo-woo coming out for the moment.
We love it. We love it.
Like our DNA was manipulated. Like we were originally quantum creatures on this planet with 12 strands, crystalline based. Now it's like 3 or 4 strand carbon based. That's an evolutionary result of sort of the suppression of human consciousness and awareness of our limitlessness on this planet over the last couple 100,000 of years. And so people who are accessing these codes, and I just gave a couple different examples of how you can access them, turn them on, bring them online, create more light in your body, lessen the density. Well, what gets revealed is our truth, our authenticity, the game we really came here to play, the person we're really here to be. And I think that that's like the greatest adventure of this human experience is that remembrance, because it's not an awakening, although that's what happens. Really, ultimately, it's we have forgotten on a cellular level just how powerful we are. Yeah. And our codes help us wake up and remember that.
Yeah. We're just going to let that. Yes. Brings me to something I marked it because of course it just came around in your beautiful book. And you said joy. Wait, where is it? Joy is the alignment. Joy is the alignment.
I said joy is the lubricant to abundance.
Yes, joy is.
And joy gets us into alignment. It's the spirit.
Yes. Joy, that's it. Joy gets us into alignment.
Yeah, joy gets us into alignment.
That's what I heard when you were talking about that, because right, when we consider density, we consider density in the body, we understand that the density is constriction and it's tightness and it's dysregulation, which means we're in our survival body, which means we can only operate from a third dimension of consciousness, right? Whereas joy in the truest, yummy, like Care Bear countdown coming out of your heart open, like joy is a higher level vibration, obviously, and it is very much a 5D consciousness piece, which is what light is, and we are light. So I love the simplicity of joy gets you into alignment. So it's when you can allow the joy, right? When you can tolerate the joy, because so many, especially when we're in the kind of opening act of this conversation, when you're in the go and the push and like all the things that is part of all of our stories. Because I believe it can't not be when we are all conditioned and brought up and programmed and live in a culture that rewards us for the fictitious carrot and the external validation. Yeah. I genuinely believe we have to move through something that makes us go, what the fuck is this? But this feels terrible.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be that way, but right now it is, to awaken us into number one, what light feels like. Like it almost feels like I want to open my body up.
Yes.
And the sensation of joy. And then doing exactly what you said in the book, which is joy. It's like if you follow the joy, the alignment is a natural byproduct of the prioritization of the joy.
You just articulated like joy is the biggest code of my book. Like that is the true ultimate moral of the story of my book. And, I often say that joy as a choice, right? Like it's different than happiness. Like happiness is a fleeting emotion and it's great to be happy. Joy is more of a commitment and a choice and a devotion, I often say, but I'm actually going to evolve that, Trace, based on something you just said, which is joy is a sensation. Joy is a physical, cellular, quantum, vibrational frequency that has a electromagnetic pull to it because it is so high vibe, 5D, and like attracts like, as Joe Dispenza and all of them say, it's quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
And when we are committed to joy and really, truly allow ourselves to, and it takes work, right? We've got to release all those programs and those what the fuck moments. This feels terrible. I'm going to choose a different way to live my life and heal, etc. But that has been like the biggest proof point. Anytime I've ever doubled down on that code, personally, it is when things become the most effortless. It is when things manifest at a rapid speed. It is when serendipity starts to unfold. I'm in a frequency match to it. That's why I say joy gets us into alignment. So thank you for unraveling that code the way that you just did. And what you've taught me is just actually how available that is to us at all times. That we get to really like co-create that somatically, psychologically, like soulfully. It's just been such a gift. So even before we were talking, this recording started, it's like, oh, this is why I needed Tracy Litt my life today, every day. But it's really where our work, I think, just so beautifully intersects. And that is, I'm really glad you pulled that quote from the book because it's very, very layered when I said that. And thank you for helping to articulate it.
Well, we are a frequency match. So it wasn't intent. I just was like, what? Okay, that, because there's something there. And the other thing there was something else that just came through. Let me see if it's going to come back.
I was just going to say, while you maybe wait for it to come back, I want to go back to Egypt for one quick second, where the joy code got downloaded. Yes. I was in multiple temples over 15 days, having massive experiences that sound like you're on psychedelic mushrooms, but you're not. These things are literally almost inexplainable, but they happen to you mentally, physically, visually, emotionally. And the biggest experience of them all was when I was in the temple of Dendera, which is Hathor's temple. And Hathor is the goddess of joy. She's the goddess of bliss, pleasure, play, sensuality, music. That's what she's all about. And this was coming off the heels of like burnout. Talk about this feels terrible. It had felt terrible for years, but yet I was, quote unquote, killing life. And I couldn't consciously reconcile why that was. In this moment, like I said, these things that happen to you there sound crazy. I got struck by white lightning in a little small alcove in one of the parts of her building. Like I closed my eyes, pressed my whole body up against the wall. And within a matter of seconds, like diamond white light hit my body. Like that's the only way I can describe it. It was a big white lightning flash. And I saw it with my eyes closed, but within a matter of milliseconds, my whole auric field started to expand and I left the planet. I left the temple. I was up in the cosmos. And I started hearing all these voices, and I'm very clairaudient to begin with, and I can hear spirit, but I had never heard spirit or the Pleiadians, that highest level of galactic consciousness, speak to me. And they were kind of one collective voice, but they were also trying to speak over each other. Like they're like, she's open. We got to get this in, And they said a lot of things to me that in that moment that really led me right here to be having this conversation with you, truly. And I read about a lot of it in the book, but they said to me, literally, they're like, do you have any idea how lucky you are to be on this planet? Do you have any idea how lucky you are to be a human being in a human body having this human experience? You get to have sex on this planet. You get to eat chocolate on this planet. You get to kiss your cute dogs on this planet. You get to wear cute outfits on this planet. You get to travel the world to beautiful countries like this on this planet. You get to follow a purpose on this planet. And if you do not enjoy it for you, will you please enjoy it for us, because we can't be down there and you have missed the memo. This experience of this human body is supposed to be fun.
Mm.
Like,
yeah,
the plot line has been lost.
Yeah. It's been lost because of everything we said before, and the hustle and the go and the culture and the external validation and the false belief that we need to prove ourselves or earn our worth. And it creates this constantness that pulls us directly out of presence and directly out of allowance and directly out of the recognition of the fucking ordinary miracle that is the fact that we can put milk chocolate in our mouth and let it melt and have it be delicious, or we can orgasm, or we can look and watch a bird fly and go, wow, that's so cool. And what's so fucking stunning about this moment is that's what it's all about. And here comes the thing that was trying to come before. It's the presence is the thing that opens you to the joy. And it's the remembrance of what we've always been and the truth of what we are before all the shit fucking layered all over us.
Yeah.
If the joy is the remembrance, the joy, the lightness, the ease, the openness, that is what we are.
Yeah.
Without all the fucking shit that we allow us to perpetually bury us. And it's like, wait a second. So then what if I'm going to loop both of our work right now, because you talk about new earth and I talk about new world as the same thing.
Yeah.
What if that is the foundational principle, the foundational doctrine of this new earth and new world, is the remembrance, then thus the allowance of, baby, what's here is what's now. It's the presence, the present moment. Our nervous system's open. Allowance comes upon us. Joy is present.
Yeah.
There's nothing but what is.
Yeah.
What if that's just what it is?
Right. It's like what we, I think we're like chasing, and then the more we chase it, the more it's like slipping through our fingers like sand. And it's really like, do you know the artist East Forest? Have you heard his music? He's this beautiful musician. He just has gorgeous like meditation music. He's very spiritual. And he came to Nashville last weekend. It was a really big deal. I went to his show. And I have such an intimate relationship with his voice. So it's like, those artists, he's got such a specific frequency to the way he sings. And he has a song, and he sang it live that I love. And he told the story behind it. And the first question of the song is, do you want to know what enlightenment is? It's with you every moment. With each thoughtless breath, instant infinity occurs.
Yeah. Okay. Stay here, because the other thing that was coming through, and that just also crystallized it, that chase, which also, because I love when I help make shit make sense. Like, if you're chasing joy, makes no fucking sense. Chasing presence, chasing the miraculous,
like an oxymoron,
right? Yeah. Chasing love, like, hi, no, okay. And one of the things to emphasize there, because you're saying that it's right there, it's infinite, like it's here.
Yeah.
If you're right now having a deeply resonant moment, which I know as you're hanging out with us, you are, the chase is the affirmation of the separateness.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes. It's the belief in the separateness.
Right. So
the affirmation.
What we're saying is that the oneness is what's real, the present moment, this beautiful singer that you're speaking of, and it's here, and your enlightenment it's all right here.
Right here.
And one of the biggest pieces that prohibits you from being one with it is this false notion that it is separate from you, but it's not. It's actually right here. But your behaviors of chase and need and want keeps pushing it further down the field. So it's like, just fucking stop in place.
Yeah.
And trust and open. And it'll smack into you because you are it and it is you.
Yeah. Exactly. That's all you need to, I wouldn't say do, that's all you need to be.
Right. Yes. Even more better.
Even more better. I really love your New World, New Earth. I'm so glad you tied that to it. Because when I think about New Earth, New World, it is sometimes hard to put in 2 words. I tried to write about it in my book, but it's like, it's not, we've heard those terms. And if you're familiar, obviously, and you're here hanging out with Tracy, you've heard this before, but it can sound like this thing that sounds out there, like one day, maybe someday, that sounds nice. But really, the new earth lives right here. And I'm putting my hand on my heart. And it does happen with every breath, yes, but every thought, every feeling, every choice, every action, every interaction, it is a co-creation that we make with every single person we come into contact with. And obviously our deepest relationships to ourselves, but it's not a one day, someday. It's happening right now. And I feel such a deep responsibility to be a co-creator of that when I think about the future of this planet and the children of this planet and the world they're going to inherit based on the conscious way we show up right now and do this work and have these conversations and listen to these podcasts and read these books and know the gift and the responsibility of this time in humanity. Like, I really think about that all the time. I really do. And the simplicity of it is also so great to consider, that it's just the removal of the programming and the density and the layers and the bullshit, and just to fully show up and be present in the moment. Like, that's the game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not to make it sound easy, it's not easy, but it is simple and there's a difference.
I fully agree. And you use the word responsibility, which I love, and I do too. It is each one of our divine moral responsibilities at this stage to ensure that we understand our contribution to the new earth, to the new world, and that it lives inside of us. And when we do all these luscious things that we just discussed, that the school offers, that you offer, that's when we're prioritizing the contribution that we have gains over, but is bigger than us. So what do we need from you, sister? We need you to show up in your divine moral responsibility and unbecome and heal some shit and leave the tension behind and open your heart and enjoy the present moment, right? And eat the chocolate a little bit slower and all of these things. Because, we talk about like a lot of, passion and purpose and and all those things. And I appreciate it because I love all those things. But your deepest contribution in this lifetime, the thing that is going to allow you to die easy on that last day when you take that breath, which is the only factual truth that there is from this physical body, is to know you made your contribution in love and frequency and openness and compassion and gratitude and patience and trust.
Yeah.
I want to leave that world for my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I want to leave that world for your kids too. And my nephews and my niece and all my friends' children. And I think about them all the time. And, I was with Michael Beckwith yesterday. He dropped into my school. And he was talking to all these entrepreneurs, right? And he was like, I will never be able to, I'll paraphrase him because he's him, but it's like, you're not just here, not in this program, but like here in this life to build a business, make a living. Like when someone asks you, what do you do for a living? I create beauty on this planet. I create peace on this planet. I create health on this planet. I create compassion on this planet. I create empowerment on this planet. Like, it was so amazing the way that he anointed these women with that reflection. And that's That's, I think, the real like new world shift, right? Like all of us really recognizing I call it the game, like the game, because it's a holograph, the game we really came here to play.
Yeah.
And it's bigger than we, I think, have been conditioned to believe it is. And we're waking up to that. Stepping up.
We are. We are. We are. Oh, I'm going to let that be the close for now because it's just so beautiful. And this conversation is vibrating in the world and will do so for as long as podcasts exist and beyond. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I love you so much.
I want to keep talking, but I'm going to pause us. I love you so much. Where is the best place for our beauties to come hang with you?
You can come find me at jessicazweig.com. All the ways to get involved in my world are there. Jessica Zweig on Instagram. Come find me on the Spiritual Hustler podcast and pick up a copy of my book, The Light Work.
Yes. This though, and this pretty one. Don't mind my teal Post-it notes, but yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you can find it wherever books are sold.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. And also, one other thing I want to say about the book, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody, is it's all the things that you're going to sense it is based on this conversation. And I also really appreciate the tactical. Take a pause. There's beautiful gray boxes in the book. There's like, okay, now you heard me say a bunch of things. Now let's take a pause, get a little deeper. And then here's the key, which is your language for like, now here's the thing to move this into motion and actualization, which I really appreciate.
I love to hear you say that. It's actually one of my favorite aspects of the book because I say like, this is not here to convince you to go to Egypt, like buy a plane ticket. No, this book is here in your hands for $20 to show you you've got the keys right now. And at the end of every chapter, there's what I call an invitation, which is a series of journaling prompts. And then the key, which is like the thing you do to move, the somatic practice, the breath work, the meditation, the unlock, right? To take you kind of deeper and then to kind of alchemize it and to embody it. So thanks for pointing that out because it's a very, it's a spiritual text, if you will, mixed with a personal memoir-esque story, but it's all about the reader. And I want you to really move through it and feel the light come back online. So,
yeah, you absolutely will. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, beauties. Until next time, remember, there's always more love.
Love you, Trace.